The Box of Ezekiel. Back in 2013, a Redditor that went by the username of TramStopDan was passing by a trash bin and noticed a strange wooden suitcase sticking out noticeably in the bin. Intrigued by this peculiar find, he quickly pulled the wooden suitcase out of the trash and began digging through its contents to uncover anything important that had been tossed. He realized that the old wooden suitcase appeared to be filled with hand-drawn maps with incredible detail, drawings of mechanical devices, strange images of what appeared to be an extraterrestrial event, and pages of writings that talked about a possible government conspiracy, cover-up and alien sighting. The Redditor spent a few days poring over these pieces on his own before posting his findings to the site in the hopes of finding others who could help to explain what he had found and what all of it meant. It did not take long for the community to respond and each make their own connections to the work to realize its purpose. It became known that the writings were making references to an old biblical story known as the Book of Ezekiel. The contents of the suitcase appeared to be a brand new conspiracy theory made by one person who was obsessed with this biblical book and believed the events of the story to have been that of an alien encounter. Though this secret held no government cover-up or proof of the extraterrestrial event, it was an impressive amount of work and dedication that most can look at and appreciate in its own special way. Palpa Flat Mountain. Located at a distance of a few miles from the famous Nazca lines, the Palpa Flat is an enormous mountain with a strange flat top. The mountain does not have any surrounding debris near its base. The strange flat top of the mountain has random thick lines that seem relevant to the Nazca lines. While there are many theories about this strange mountain, some archaeologists believe that the top of the mountain was carefully removed and the debris was dumped at some other site by ancient men who created the Nazca lines. They believe that the main purpose behind the removal of the top was to create more Nazca lines on the mountain. The random thick lines on the surface of the flat mountain seem to support this theory. Another mystery of the Palpa Flat Mountain is the presence of large piles of stones around the plateau. It seems that someone had placed these stones at strategic locations and they were connected to each other by strange lines drawn on the ground. One of the most popular conspiracy theories about the Palpa Mountain links it to aliens. Some people believe that the ancient Nazca civilization was an advanced civilization that was in contact with aliens, and they created the Nazca lines in order to assist the aliens in landing their spacecraft. They believe that the mountain was the landing site for the spacecraft. Another explanation about the Palpa Flat Mountain points to the natural geological forces as the main reason behind the shape of the mountain. According to geologists, it is quite possible that the Nazca Plain was once home to a now dried up river, and the top of the mountain was washed away as a result of flooding during ancient times. The Great Attractor. On planet Earth, gravitational force is inevitable as everything that goes up comes down eventually. The Great Attractor, just as the name suggests, attracts galaxies to itself just like the way a magnet does to metal. It operates as a gravitational anomaly. The Great Attractor is a gravitational abnormality in intergalactic space and the apparent central gravitational point of the Laniakea supercluster. When observed, the Great Attractor is difficult to be envisioned, as it is inconveniently obscured by large clusters of galaxies in our Milky Way's galactic plane. A lot of astronomers have been curious if planet Earth is safe with the discovery of the existence of the Great Attractor by NASA. The Great Attractor was explored and discovered by NASA to have been located on the border of Triangulum Australe and Norma. This field covers part of the Norma cluster as well as a dense area of our own galaxy, the Milky Way. The Norma cluster is the closest massive galaxy cluster to the Milky Way and lies about 220 million light-years away. The Great Attractor was recorded by astronomers to be an enormous concentration of masses and occupies a region of space which dominates our region of the universe. One of the distinguished characteristics of the Great Attractor also is that the gravitational abnormality is observable by its effects on the motion of galaxies and their associated clusters over a region of hundreds of millions of light-years across, its visibility inconvenient to observe at optical wavelengths. A whole range of tactics need to be in place for observation, such as infrared or radio observations. But the region just behind the center of the Milky Way, where visibility is obscured, remains yet a complete mystery to astronomers. The Kosso Artifact. The Kosso Artifact is that of an out-of-place artifact discovered near the town of Olancha in the state of California back in 1961, when a group of people were prospecting the area for geodes. As they collected a number of geodes, they broke up one to find what appeared to be a spark plug completely sealed up inside of a 500,000-year-old geode and still in a pristine condition due to its sealing. Many use this finding as evidence that humans journeyed as far back as 500,000 years into the past and left behind a spark plug that would later find itself encased inside of a geode and discovered in the modern day once more. Though there have been a number of possible explanations for the discovery of such an artifact, none seems to address how or why a spark plug could have been completely encased in a 500,000-year-old geode and why it would have remained in such pristine condition. The mystery of consciousness. Why are we here? It's a question that many have asked, but no one has the answer to. Life itself is a mystery. Two leading scientists have come forward and said that the human brain is a biological computer, and the consciousness of a human being is a program that's run by the brain's computer. It's believed that within the human brain there resides around 86 billion brain cells. The soul is something that has made many people put forward different theories. There has always been a debate about the soul of a human and whether or not it goes on after life. There are those that believe your soul is what is actually keeping you alive, while others suggest that the soul is nothing. Recently, researchers think that they've found a new truth about the soul, and they've put forward the theory that the soul doesn't die, it goes back into the universe. Dr. Stuart Hameroff, who is a physicist, and Sir Roger Penrose, a mathematical physicist at the Oxford University, have been working on the quantum theory of consciousness. Both of them suggest that the soul of a person is in the microtubules of the brain cells. Their theory states that a human being's soul is contained within the cells of the brain in structures that are inside them called microtubules. It sounds confusing, but the doctors think the human brain is just a biological computer and the consciousness we experience is run by the computer inside the brain. This means it will continue to exist after the human has gone. Both of them suggest that what humans think of consciousness is the result of the effects of quantum gravity that is situated in the microtubules. The doctors have said that when the heart of a person stops beating blood around their body, the microtubules inside the brain begin to lose the quantum state. However, the quantum information that is in the microtubules does not get destroyed. Instead, it gets distributed into the universe. This could mean that after death our memories will enter the universe and carry on. The site of Göbekli Tepe. It was commonly believed in the timeline of humanity that humans first formed in tribes, then villages, then developed agriculture, and then formed complex nations and allies, and so on, in that order. This might not be the case anymore, as archaeologists uncovered the site of Göbekli Tepe. The dating for the stones and the area appears to go as far back as 10,000 BCE. A much older point in time than people realized humans could have possibly formed complex cities and temples, as agriculture would not have been formed for another couple of thousand years. It is due to this that the site is regarded by many as the single most important archaeological discovery, due to the fact that its existence and finding could profoundly change the understanding that we have of the crucial stages in the early development period of human society and technological advancement. Regarded as the world's first temple, Göbekli Tepe consists of massively carved stones in modern-day Turkey that is arranged in ways that would create complex concentric circles from its base. This would be at about a period of time in human history predating the use of any form of metal tools. Unfortunately, given its popularity amongst fringe groups, a lot of information has been lost due to tourists visiting the site, removing large chunks of rock or important engravings on the side of the temple as personal keepsakes for themselves. This has led researchers to halt any further research in the area to first attempt to preserve the site for future conservation with 3D imaging, pictures, weather protection, and blocked-off pathways from tourists before any other crucial historical information is lost forever surrounding the oldest known human structure. Until such efforts can be finished, no new information surrounding the ancient temple will be published. Hidden rooms in the Great Pyramid. Almost 4,500 years ago, between 2509 BC and 2483 BC, the pharaoh Khufu was ruler of ancient Egypt. During this time, Pharaoh Khufu ordered the creation of the Great Pyramid, a monumental display of power. Built completely for himself, the pyramid itself has more than a 13-acre base and originally had a 479-foot-tall peak. The construction of the Great Pyramid is astonishing. Over 2.3 million blocks of limestone were quarried, cut to specific measurements, and then placed into the formation we know today. The Great Pyramid is regarded as one of the wonders of the ancient world. In 2017, scientists studying the pyramid announced that they had found a previously unknown void inside of the pyramid that's estimated to be around 30 meters long. The last time any kind of big structure inside the pyramid was discovered was in the 1800s. This new void was found using a process called muon radiography. This method utilizes cosmic rays to locate voids or cavities inside of structures. This new discovery is being compared to the previously discovered Grand Gallery of the pyramid. The Grand Gallery is a 150-foot-long corridor that goes directly to the burial room of Khufu, the pharaoh that commissioned this marvel of the ancient world. This corridor is also around 26 feet tall and sits below the newly discovered area. Still, it is completely unknown what or if anything lies within this area and what it was used for. It could be several smaller rooms or one large area we simply do not know. This discovery is still huge. It brings us closer to finally being able to understand and even just know the various intricacies of this truly astonishing structure. This discovery was made by the Scan Pyramids project working with the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities and is widely regarded as the most impressive achievement of the technique used to find it. We know this large void exists, but we really know nothing else about it. Hopefully it will potentially validate any ideas of exploring the Great Pyramid further, and hopefully understanding it better, maybe further exploration will uncover more secrets. The CIA Alien Awareness Study. At the end of 2017, the United States Department of Defense began their subtle declassification processes by slowly declassifying a collection of military documents and research information to the general public. Usually, these declassification processes are fraught with financial information, technical documents, and references to training programs, government budgets, assistance with other nations, or other basic procedures of which do not hold any significant importance outside of technical military information. However, it became apparent very quickly to members amongst the alien community that the declassified files coming from the Pentagon were more than just research and technical information. Back in 2007, the Department of Defense began developing a UFO research program tasked with gathering information regarding unidentified flying objects and conducting research as to the observed aircrafts, their origin, and their technological prowess. The research group was quickly budgeted with $22 million in support and a team of military intelligence officials, researchers, and the highest levels of security clearance. The program itself went by the name of AATIP, of which stood for the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program, and was given the primary objective of identifying these unidentified flying objects as whether or not they are potential threats to national security. It did not take long for the AATIP team to gather a wide variety of strange sighting reports made by pilots from all across the country, including associated data like camera footage and radar information, while attempting to match these sightings with known international aircraft signatures. Expecting to find explanations to these craft and their origin, after the gathered data was compiled, it became rather obvious that this would not be the case. In fact, many of the researchers involved in the program regarded these UFO sightings and craft as having no earthly origin and displaying behavior that could not be explained. This could very well be the closest the Department of Defense will ever come to admitting the viability of extraterrestrial craft without directly saying it. With all of this acknowledgement of unidentified craft, their strange abilities, and the potential for extraterrestrial life, it might appear that the Department of Defense and higher intelligence officials might be slowly coming to the consensus of total disclosure regarding the viability of alien contact and classified government projects. However, that could not be further from the case. According to Nate Jones, the director of the Freedom of Information Act, he claims that the footage shown and provided was never officially declassified, and that there are potentially many files that are still yet to be declassified that have not yet gone through the proper channels. In fact, it appears to be that the initial cause for the declassification of certain files to begin with was due to a potential leak of information that originated from inside the Pentagon, as Nate Jones clarifies that it looks very strongly like these weren't released through any proper DoD declassification channels, when referring to the shown footage and declassified reports. The Department of Defense has also taken a stand by saying the official who is authorized to release this video on behalf of the Department of Defense did not approve the release of this video. The Pentagon is also referencing a study made back in the 1950s by the Central Intelligence Agency's Psychological Strategy Board, of which concluded that the public's potential reaction to UFOs could cause an instance of mass hysteria which constituted a national security threat. This could very well mean that we are decades away from a full disclosure of the project and other secret Pentagon UFO files. UFO sightings. The most popular story surrounding the strange nature of the Cannock Chase region seems to center around a mass sighting of an unidentified flying object hovering over the region back in 2015. Before this moment, many had claimed to have seen UFOs flying in and out of the region, with some describing them as ethereal, quick-moving lights, and others claiming to see whole craft that float silently above a canopy of trees. These claims had largely been dismissed, however, until the 2015 mass UFO sighting that would force the local Staffordshire law enforcement to give a public statement to prevent further panic. At around 9 p.m. back on the 25th of March, 2015, hundreds of homeowners began posting on social media of a massive aircraft moving slowly overhead that created a loud droning noise that was impossible to explain. Some witnesses wrote that their house was rumbling as the craft passed over, describing it as slow and huge. Others wrote that the craft was far too slow to have been any normal aircraft, as it floated directly over their homes before making sharp turns off into different regions of Cannock Chase. A UFO researcher working with the British UFO Research Association claimed that before anything could be seen with the naked eye, there was a deep and loud droning. After around 3 minutes, the craft then came into sight. It was described as being incredibly large, astonishingly low, and had 3 red lights evenly placed in a triangle formation. More than 150 calls would be made to local law enforcement surrounding the sighting, forcing law enforcement to issue a statement that the sighting was nothing more than an experimental military aircraft. This statement would later be retracted, as military would claim no such craft was within the region at any point in time. The account of Linda Porter. Though the report wasn't written until 1991, the case of Linda Porter and her alien abduction encounters that took place back in 1963 helped to paint an even more important picture for that of alien intervention and abduction. The story was first told by that of famed reporter and regional Emmy winner Linda Moulton Howe, of whom was contacted by Linda Porter after receiving a package through the mail containing an audio cassette, a written letter, and drawings from Linda Porter. The letter detailed the account of Linda Porter that informed the journalist of her abduction that took place back in 1963 in Covina, California. According to Linda Porter, she had been abducted by grey aliens when she was a young child, only roughly 15 years old, and experienced experiments that she referred to as soul transfers. Linda Porter claimed that she was taken up into an extraterrestrial spacecraft. She had seen a large praying mantis-like creature that could communicate with her telepathically and detail a vast amount of information surrounding the universe. Shortly after this confrontation, she claimed to have switched bodies into that of a cloned body via a soul transfer. She was told by an extraterrestrial being that her other body had had a bad heart and that she would soon have passed away had they not intervened, but that her new body would be far healthier and stronger for her to use. Shortly after this transfer, she witnessed a number of other abductees in large vats or containers, of whom were being studied by the extraterrestrials, as the nature of a human soul was quite unknown to the extraterrestrials inhabiting the spacecraft. Additionally, Linda Porter claimed to have seen a number of surrounding grey aliens that stood beside the massive praying mantis-like alien and seemed to have been operating as a hive mind as they communicate telepathically. This behaviour led her to believe that the function of their civilization is based primarily off of telepathic communication to prevent misinterpretation of far more complex ideas. No further information surrounding her abductions could be known, and outside of her audio cassettes and drawn images, no other data can be gathered. The Lost Ark of the Covenant. As the Israelites were making their way across the Sinai Desert after their departure from Egypt, Moses, with strict orders from God himself, commanded them to construct the infamous Ark of the Covenant. Inside the Ark is home to numerous tablets engraved with the 10 Commandments from the Hebrew Bible that are believed to host magical powers, both good and evil. The tablets are believed to be made of gold from the Garden of Eden, representing the morality of the universe. Like any biblical story, the truth of the matter is up to interpretation. Scholars who have studied the Lost Ark of the Covenant have debated whether the Ark is made of gold or wood, or both, what kind of powers it has, and ultimately where it ended up after vanishing from Jerusalem in 587 BC. God gave the Israelites extremely specific instructions for building the Ark of the Covenant. According to God, the Ark should be made of both wood and gold. However, the wood must be acacia wood that is 3.75 feet long and 2.25 feet wide. God then instructed the builders to sheath the wood with gold both inside and out. There was to be a cherub facing a certain direction on the lid of the chest, with its wings spread upward, casting a shadow below. To imagine that Israelites wandering through the desert for 40 years were expected to create such an artistic masterpiece with only their hands and some gold is a huge undertaking, even with God's guidance. To make this story more believable to modern people, it is now believed that God chose only one man to be the designer of the Ark and gifted him the skills he would need to complete the task. One of the most popular theories is that the Israelites used the Ark to gain advantages on their way to conquer Canaan after their extended journey through the desert. According to the Hebrew Bible, the Ark had the ability to stop water from flowing in the Jordan River so that the founders of the Ark could carry it across. It is also believed to have helped the Israelites in various battles on their way across the desert. Because the Ark was thought to be so powerful and had brought the Israelites such good fortune, it became a hot commodity. It was eventually stolen from the Israelites, but shortly thereafter, the thieves were swept with disease and fatal illnesses, causing them to return to the Ark immediately. Once the Israelites had reached Shiloh, the Ark was taken by King David and given to Solomon to be brought to Jerusalem, where it would stay in the temple. Roughly 2,000 years ago, the Ark disappeared once again. Scholars predict that the Ark was stolen for its supposed powers and is now hidden in Ethiopia at the St. Mary of Zion Cathedral. The cathedral has a monk called the Guardian, who is the only person allowed to see the Ark. There has been no authentication of the Ark to determine if it is the original from the Bible stories. Other theories run rampant about the true location of the artifact. The Book of Maccabees states that the Ark is hidden in a cave in Mount Nebo, and will remain unfound until called upon by God. At that point, we will know that God is giving us mercy because of the prolific powers that the Ark holds for human beings. Still, there is always discussion about the Ark being revealed only when the Messiah comes to earth to rescue his people. And finally, the Ark is also believed to reveal itself only in the final days in the existence of the universe. Cedarium of Oviedo. One of the most valuable and mysterious ancient artifacts associated to Jesus is the Cedarium of Oviedo. It is a small piece of cloth that is believed to have been wrapped around the head of Jesus Christ after his death. It is believed that this cloth is the same cloth that has been mentioned in the Bible as well. This blood-stained piece of linen cloth is 33 inches in length and 21 inches in width. In 840 AD, a special chapel was built to house this significant artifact. The chapel was built by King Alfonso II in the Spanish town of Oviedo. The cloth has been kept inside an oak chest that is covered with silver gilt and has Roman-style decorations. This chest is known as Arca Santa, and it contains some other relics belonging to Jesus as well. However, the most important relic that it contains is the Cedarium of Oviedo. As with any other ancient religious artifact, the Cedarium of Oviedo also has its fair share of believers and skeptics. According to historic records, it first appeared around 570 CE when a pilgrim claimed to have seen the cloth in a monastery near Jerusalem. Later, during the 7th century, it was taken to Spain. Since then, it has been kept in the town of Oviedo.
The river lizard's cryptid. Known in the cryptozoological circuit as the river lizards, these creatures seem eerily similar in design to their small theropod genus of dinosaurs, of which has fossils commonly found near ancient riverbanks and dense jungle regions all around the world. These cryptid river lizards have claimed to have been sighted nearly anywhere where there exist secluded rivers and uninhabited mountainous jungles that see little to no human contact, with claims coming from the Amazon jungles, the Rocky Mountains of the United States, secluded regions of Africa, and distant rivers of China to Siberia. According to a number of eyewitnesses, the river lizards seem to possess an extra flap of skin surrounding their neck that can be expanded outward when threatened, similar to how a peacock expands its feathers. A number of cryptozoological researchers have also made a connection between the sightings of the river lizards and another creature known as the mountain boomer's cryptid of the Rocky Mountains and southwestern Texas. According to descriptions, the mountain boomers are another species of surviving dinosaur that resides within the mountains of the United States that are claimed to sleep inside caves or deep burrows and are capable of leaping great distances similar to that of a kangaroo while still possessing a design similar to that of the river lizards. There are many cryptid researchers that believe the two cryptids are one and the same, with sightings, descriptions, and locations directly matching one another. The Mohammed Cryptid Mosasaurus. Believed to be a possible surviving member of the Deinosuchus species, the Mohammed Cryptid is described by witness accounts as being a massive 50-foot-long crocodile with elongated forearms and hind legs that allow the creature to run at speeds that can top more than 60 miles per hour. According to the myths traveling throughout the Democratic Republic of Congo, the creature is known to float in the rivers similar to that of a crocodile, but will stay hidden underneath the waters until a large animal or boat passes overhead. It has been reported to have swallowed entire canoes whole and run onto the nearby shores to devour and attack any tribes passing by. The native tribes believe that the creature feeds on other large undiscovered species of monsters in the region and will usually stick to the deeper waters of the rainforest. The last known sighting of the Mohammed was back in 1930, with no additional sightings since then. Despite not seeing or encountering the monster for almost 100 years, the native tribes still tend to ignore certain areas of the rainforest altogether in fear of potentially encountering the creature. Cryptid researchers have theorized that the Mohammed cryptid is a modern-day living descendant of the freshwater species known as the long-since extinct Mosasaurus. The Mosasaurus was an aquatic reptile that roamed the Earth for 70 million years before it became extinct about 60 million years ago. The largest fossil ever recovered of the Mosasaurus places the creature at being 59 feet in length, matching the tails of the Mohammed. Marine biologists criticized this theory, however, as the Mosasaurus's size and history forced the creature to stay in the ocean, making it a saltwater species and not a freshwater species as reported in the Mohammed. In a startling discovery completely unexpected by marine biologists back in 2012, paleontologists uncovered the remains of a freshwater adapted descendant of the Mosasaurus believed to have first evolved 80 million years ago. Not only did this find completely rewrite the expected extinction timeline of the creature, but is now cited by cryptid researchers as supporting evidence of the Mohammed and its connection to the Mosasaurus. The Brosno Dragon. There seems to be a number of strange urban legends surrounding that of the Brosno Lake, located in western Russia, near the town of Andreapol, that features the telling of a massive underwater dragon that has made its appearance several times all throughout history. According to the old Russian folklore, during the 13th century, When the Tatar-Mongol army was making its advancements through the region nearby Brosno Lake on their way towards Novgorod, they had stopped at the lake to create a temporary rest stop for the army, as well as establish a temporary stronghold at the location to assist future army deployments throughout the region. As the horses of the army went down into the lake to drink water, the soldiers detailed that a massive roaring creature had come out of the lake and onto the shores, devouring the horses in single bites and tearing apart soldiers as if they were nothing but clay pottery. Over several centuries, there would be continued stories surrounding the lake that told of sand islands or sand mounds forming out in the lake that many believed to have been mounds created by the dragon itself to lay eggs. When fishermen would attempt to journey towards this island, they would be devoured whole as a large mouth would open up beneath them, sucking the boat and water into its massive mouth. According to further legends stretching back over the course of the last century, Russians claimed that Nazi soldiers were unable to advance past the region near Brosno Lake due to their tests of the waters and the awakening of the large beast. Some claim that perhaps the Nazi soldiers were interested in making attempts to tame the beast, but were soon met with a terrible surprise as the beast began to devour soldiers that got too close to the lake. Today, Brosno Lake is responsible for a large number of disappearances, including that of talented and skilled fishermen that seem to disappear without a trace of what happened to them.